Welcome once again to We the People, a New Birth of Freedom, and thanks for stopping by. We're going to be looking very closely at the Declaration of Independence, and we're going to understand why that Declaration of Independence is symbolic of the foundation which our liberty and justice was built upon. Without the Declaration of Independence, it doesn't make any sense, and we'll see that as you go along. I'm going to begin by reading something to you. In 1776, America's founders gathered in Philadelphia to draft the Declaration of Independence, which dissolved the political ties that had bound the American people to Great Britain. That's very important. A new nation thus was born, free and independent, the United States of America. 11 years later, in 1787, after American patriots had won our independence on the battlefield, many of the men who had met earlier in Philadelphia, plus others, met there again to draft a plan for governing the new nation, the Constitution of the United States. In 1789, after the plan had been ratified, the new government was established. Together, the Declaration and the Constitution are America's founding documents. That's very, very important to understand. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are America's founding documents. As amended over the years, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, the nation's fundamental law, but the broad language of the Constitution is illuminated by the principles set forth in the Declaration. To better understand and appreciate the form of government we have, therefore, it is important to look first to the Declaration, where the founders outlined their moral vision and the government it implied. Addressing a candid world, the founders' immediate aim in the Declaration was to justify their decision to declare independence. Toward that end, they set forth a theory of legitimate government, then demonstrated how far British rule had strayed from that ideal. But their argument served not simply to discredit British rule. In addition, it set the course for future American government. Indeed, for more than 2 centuries, the ringing phrases of the Declaration have inspired countless millions around the world. Appealing to all mankind, the Declaration's seminal passage opens with perhaps the most important line in the document. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Grounded in reason, self-evident truths invoke the long tradition of natural law, which holds that there is a higher law of right and wrong from which to derive human law and against which to criticize that law at any time. It is not political will. Please understand that. The law of nature and nature's God, natural law, is not political will, but moral reasoning, accessible to all. That is the foundation of our political system. But if reason is the foundation of the Father's vision, the method by which we justify our political order, liberty is its aim. Thus, the cardinal moral truths are these: that all men are created equal, and that word men is generic in the sense of it includes both men and women, humankind, all of humankind. Gender neutral, that all humankind are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Notice, to secure these rights. What rights? Inalienable rights. That's why governments are instituted, to secure inalienable rights by the laws of nature and nature's God. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We are all created equals, defined by our natural rights. Thus, no one has rights superior to those of anyone else. Moreover, we are born with those rights. See, we're born with them. It's inherent, it's intrinsic, and that's what I've been talking about in these videos. Whatever rights or powers government has come from us, from the consent of the governed. That explains why we have a republic form of government and a democratic process of voting in representatives to protect our inalienable rights. And our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness imply the right to live our lives as we wish, to pursue happiness as we think best, by our own lights, provided only that we respect the equal rights of others to do the same. Drawing by implication upon the common law tradition of liberty, property, and contract, its principles, rooted in right reason, the founders thus outlined the moral foundations of a free society. Only then did they turn to government. We institute government, the Declaration says, to secure our rights, our natural rights, and the rights we create as we live our lives. But the powers government may need to do that must be derived from our consent if they are to be just. Government is thus twice limited by its end, which any of us would have a right to pursue were there no government, and by its means, which require our consent. When it came time to draft a new constitution, the founders drew upon the principles they had outlined in the Declaration. Having recently overthrown oppressive British rule, they were not about to reimpose oppression on themselves. Accordingly, their basic task was to devise a government that would be strong enough to secure our rights against domestic and foreign oppression, yet not so powerful or extensive as to be oppressive itself. Toward that end, the document they drafted, once ratified, authorized government and governmental powers, then checked and balanced those powers through a series of extraordinarily thoughtful measures. The preamble sets forth the basic principle of the document. We, the people, for the purposes listed, do ordain and establish this Constitution. All power, in short, comes from the people. But as a reflection of the principles of the Declaration, the power the people give to government to exercise on their behalf is strictly limited. Indeed, the very first sentence of Article 1, following the preamble, implies as such. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress, that the people herein granted only limited legislative powers is made clear by the enumeration of those powers in Article 1, Section 8. And the point is reiterated, as if for emphasis, in the 10th Amendment, the final member of the Bill of Rights that was drafted in 1789, then added after ratification in 1791. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Plainly, only certain powers were delegated or granted by the people. Those powers were then enumerated in the Constitution. The rest were reserved to the states or to the people, never having been granted to either level of government. Once again, thanks for stopping by. We will continue this in the next video. Until then, be a true American. Thank you.